You reach 50 years old, you have a house, a car, a portfolio. But when you look at retirement, something doesn't quite add up. Your friends, your coworkers, they all seem to be missing something. Always one more year away from finally feeling secure. Here is what no one ever told you. This isn't a lack of money. It's a lack of milestones. There are 8 specific financial milestones that separate people who arrive at 65 feeling financially free from those who arrive with anxiety. Over the next 19 minutes, you're going to discover what those milestones are. More importantly, you'll discover exactly where you stand and what the next step should be. If you have between $300,000 and $1 million in assets, this video is for you. First, let's get one thing straight. You're not paranoid. What I'm about to explain here is real. The financial industry doesn't want you to understand milestones, because once you cross one, you stop being an anxious client, and anxiety sells. Reached milestones? That's when people quietly step outside the system. Think about it this way. 60 years ago, there was a clear path. You worked 40 years in the same place, you received a pension, and that was it. Simple. But that world is gone. Today, there are 10,000 different financial products, 3 different types of retirement accounts, and endless tax strategies. And no one, absolutely no one, ever gave you a map. Instead, what you receive is fragmented advice. Invest early, diversify, don't put all your eggs in one basket. All of it is true. But none of it tells you at 50 you should roughly be here. At 55 you should be here. Without milestones, you're navigating in the dark. And here's the pattern. The people who reach 65 with genuine financial freedom weren't more creative than you. They didn't necessarily earn twice as much money. But at some point, usually between 35 and 45, they recognized a specific milestone. They crossed a line. And from that moment forward, things became simpler. Everyone else? They keep waiting for things to work themselves out later. The difference isn't intelligence. It's clarity. Now, here's the interesting part. These milestones are not random. They come from a pattern that repeats over time. Look closely. In 1980, the average person at 45 had a certain financial structure. By 2024, the numbers changed, but the sequence remained. Why? Because this isn't really about the amount of money. It's about structure. Think about a building. You don't install the glass before finishing the foundation. You don't place the roof before the walls exist. Financial milestones work the same way. There is an order. If you skip a step or fail to recognize when you've crossed it, your financial life becomes fragile. You may appear wealthy, but underneath, you're exposed. So here's what will happen over the next few minutes. You're going to hear the milestones in layers. First, you'll discover the first 3. Then we'll move to 3 more. And finally, the last 2. For each one, you'll understand what it actually means in practical terms. More importantly, you'll recognize exactly where you are right now. So let me begin with the first milestone, and this is where most people get completely confused. Milestone 1, passive income greater than 40% of monthly expenses. Let me be clear, this is not retirement. This is security. When your passive income, interest, dividends, rent, anything that comes in without you actively working covers 40 to 60% of your monthly spending, something changes in your mind. Suddenly, working becomes optional. You are not leaving the workforce, you are choosing to continue. Let's look at the numbers. The average person at 50 spends roughly $4,000 to $6,000 per month. If you have $400,000 invested at a 5% annual return, that generates about $20,000 per year, or roughly $1,600 per month. That means 27 to 40% of your expenses are already covered passively. You have crossed milestone 1. Why does this matter? Because psychologically, you have shifted. You are no longer one paycheck away from disaster. You are one spending reduction away from being okay. And that changes everything. Here is the signal to look for. When you could retire tomorrow and live on 60% of your normal lifestyle, that is milestone 1. It is not wealth. It is security. Milestone 2, diversified sources of income. You have a job, maybe 2, but passive income, often it's only investments. Milestone 2 happens when you have at least 3 sources of income and at least one of them is genuinely passive, not something that only pays if you actively work on it. Here is why this matters. If tomorrow the stock market drops 30%, your equities decline. If the real estate market weakens, rental properties may generate less income. But if you have dividend income, royalties, rental property income, and a small business, suddenly a 30% drop does not destroy your financial stability. The pattern among people who reach 65 financially free often looks something like this: 40% active income, work or business, 30% investment income, dividends, interest, 20% real estate income, rent, 10% something else, royalties, a side project. Most people rely on 100% of a single source, their job. If you want freedom, you need diversification. So here is the transition question. How many income streams do you have right now? If the answer is 1 or 2, then milestone 2 is your next target. Milestone 3, 0 debt except the mortgage. Do you still owe money on a car, credit cards, personal loans? Milestone 3 is when the only debt you carry is your mortgage. Period. Everything else, paid off. Why does this matter? Short-term debt acts like an anchor. A finance car is $500 per month that you do not truly control. Carrying a credit card balance means paying 18 to 24% annual interest. That is money that simply disappears. Here's the number that surprises many people. The average person who reaches milestone 3 by the age of 50 saves approximately $150,000 in interest payments by the time they reach 65. That is not small. But the most important benefit is flexibility. Without short-term debt, you gain room to maneuver. If an opportunity appears, you can act. If you lose your job, you can breathe. So here is where you stand right now. Have you reached some of these milestones? All of them? None of them? Now things begin to get more specific, because the next 3 milestones are where most people become completely stuck, and you will understand why in about 30 seconds. Milestone 4, liquidity for 18 to 24 months of expenses. An emergency fund. Yes, again, but here is the difference. Most people say, I have 3 months. Milestone 4 is when you have 18 to 24 months. 2 full years of expenses in cash, treasury securities, or anything you can access within about a week. Why 2 years? Because as you get older, opportunities tend to appear more slowly. If you are 55 and lose your job, it might take 6 to 8 months to find another one at the same income level. If you are 60, it could take a year. If you are 65, you may not even want another job again. 2 years of liquidity gives you the peace of mind you need. Here is a simple comparison. 2 people, both with a portfolio of $600,000. One has 3 months of liquidity. The other has 24 months. One of them sleeps well at night. You can probably guess which one. Milestone 5, 75% of your portfolio in inflation-resistant assets. Inflation quietly eats wealth. Money sitting in a bank account, losing about 4 to 5% of purchasing power each year. Bonds, often around 2 to 3%. Stocks and real estate historically have outpaced inflation. Milestone 5 happens when 75% of what you own is in assets that grow: stocks, real estate, small businesses. Here is the real number. A person with $600,000 sitting in savings accounts or low-yield bonds is losing about $24,000 to $30,000 per year in purchasing power. Over 10 years, they have effectively lost almost $300,000 in real value. But that same person, with 75% of their portfolio in assets that historically beat inflation, equities returning around 8%, real estate returning around 4 to 5%, is not losing ground. They are gaining it. So here is the transition question. Do you actually know the composition of your portfolio? Or is your money simply scattered across accounts without a clear strategy? Milestone 6. A calculated retirement income plan. This sounds obvious. It is not. Most people at 60 still cannot answer a basic question. If I retire at 62, I receive X. If I wait until 67, I receive Y. If I live until 85, where is the break-even point? Milestone 6 is when you have a number, a specific plan. Something like, if I retire at 64, I receive Social Security of $2,400 per month plus $1,800 from my portfolio. That equals $4,200. My expenses are $4,500. I need an additional $300 from another source. It is no longer maybe or I hope it works. It becomes the math has been done. Why does this matter? Because once you know the number, fear begins to disappear. Fear is uncertainty. Clarity eliminates fear. Now, here is something important. What if you reach milestones 1 through 3, but but you do not yet have milestone 4 or milestone 6. Let me show you what that looks like in real life. Scenario A, you have $400,000 invested. You own your home. You earn $120,000 per year. Your age, 52. You have reached milestones 1, 2, and 3. You have 6 months of liquidity. Milestone 4, not yet. You are self-employed. All of your income is active. Your portfolio is 60% equities, 30% real estate, 10% cash. Milestone 5, almost, but you have never calculated your retirement number. Milestone 6, not yet. Here is what will move you forward. Over the next 3 years, focus on milestones 4 and 6. Spend 12 months setting aside $2,000 per month into liquidity reserves. That brings you to 24 months of expenses. After that, sit down with a planner and calculate your real retirement number. That's it. Within 3 years, you move from things seem okay to I know exactly what my life looks like at 65. Scenario B, you have $800,000 invested. You own a rental property. You have a stable job. Your age, 58. You have reached milestones 1, 2, 3, and 5. Your portfolio is strong, but you still carry $300,000 in debt. You are still paying a mortgage. Milestone 3 is not fully complete. You have 12 months of liquidity. Milestone 4, almost there. Your retirement number, probably around $2 million, but you have never actually run the numbers. Milestone 6, just beginning. Your priority over the next 4 years, strengthen milestone 4. You earn about $80,000 per year in rental income. If you direct $30,000 per year toward liquidity reserves, you will reach 24 months of expenses within 4 years. After that, sit down and calculate milestone 6 properly. Simple, not glamorous, but clear. Here's the pattern. No one is truly stuck. Everyone has a clear path forward. But notice something. In every case, it's not about earning more money. It's about recognizing which milestone is missing. Now, there are 2 more milestones, and these are the ones where most people leave $100,000 to $200,000 on the table. Milestone 7, an optimized tax structure. This is where most people leave money on the table. You have paid income taxes your entire life, probably more than necessary. But do you actually have a tax reduction strategy for the next 5 to 10 years? Milestone 7 is when you have a clear plan, where your gains come from, which tax structure applies, how you realize losses strategically, and when you withdraw money from each account, 401k, Roth, or a regular brokerage account. Here is a real example. 2 people, both with a portfolio of $700,000. One pays 28% in taxes on gains. The other pays 16% because they plan more carefully. The difference? $84,000 over a decade. Do you realize what that means? That is roughly 12% of the entire portfolio. Milestone 8, your final number with a buffer. Do you know your number? Not, I think it's about 1 million. Your real number. Milestone 8 is when you have calculated something like this. To live the way I want, I need X dollars per year. To live like this until 95, without ever touching the principal and living only from returns, I need a portfolio of Y dollars. Do I have Y? Yes. Do I also have an additional 10 to 15% buffer? Yes. Here's why this changes everything. Once you have this answer, you are no longer working toward retirement. You are choosing whether you want to continue working or not. That is a completely different position. So here is what just happened over the past few minutes. You saw 8 milestones in order. You understand what each one means. You understand why each one matters. Now the real question becomes simple. Which ones have you already reached? And which ones are still missing? Let me be direct. If you have reached all 8, congratulations, you are financially free. If you have reached 7, you are almost there. If you have reached 5, you already know exactly what to do next. But here's the important point. It is not about the total number you have reached. It is about which one is missing first. If you have reached milestones 1, 2, 3, and 5, but you do not yet have 4, 6, 7, and 8, you are financially fragile. You may look wealthy from the outside, but you remain exposed. If you have reached 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, but you still lack 7 and 8, you are close, very close. Maybe 2 more years of focused work. And here's the clarity this gives you. You are not behind. You are simply a few steps away from being ahead. The industry wants you to remain afraid. Afraid that it's not enough. Afraid that you're behind. Because fear sells more insurance, more products, more solutions. But once you cross a milestone, you step outside the system, you know you're okay, you stop being a customer. You've probably seen this before. Banks and brokerage firms don't really want clients who know their number. They want clients who are always anxious, always comparing themselves. Here's what has changed now. You understand that it's not about the amount of money. It's about the quality of decisions, order, structure. 2 people can have exactly the same portfolio, and one of them can feel completely calm at 65 while the other feels anxious. The difference? One crossed the milestones in order, the other didn't. And something else has shifted for you. You're no longer looking at retirement as if I manage to earn enough. You're seeing it as when I cross each line. Much simpler, much less frightening. Here is the real lesson. Once you know the milestones, the system no longer controls you. You are no longer operating in survival mode. You are operating in building mode. And once you are building towards something specific, every dollar has a purpose. That is exactly why no one wants you to know this, but now you do. And from today on, whenever you hear people talking about investments or retirement, you will start noticing something. You will hear the absence of milestones in what they say. You will hear the anxiety in their voices, and you will understand that they simply haven't crossed a certain line yet. You will do it differently. So here is my challenge to you. Within the next 24 hours, identify where you stand. Which milestone have you already reached? Which one is still missing? Which one is the next milestone you truly need? Don't try to tackle all of them at once. Choose 2. The 2 that matter most for you right now,